What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3 and Out YouTube page. I'm John Middlekauff, and we are talking football all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends. Let's roll, baby. Okay, top 5 NFL venues. I'm fascinated by this because I think the NFL gets the bad rap of the atmospheres aren't that great relative to Saturdays, and it's true because there's nothing like LSU at night. There's nothing like Penn State at night. There's nothing like 110,000 people at Michigan. When Bama's rocking, Texas and Oklahoma, Oregon at Autzen Stadium. Like the NFL doesn't have that. It's a communal experience. But I've been to a lot of NFL games. They're fun, but some are better than others. And when you look at the top venues like SoFi Stadium, I've never been to a stadium even remotely close to that. And I've been to Dallas. Uh, that was always kind of the creme de la creme, but I think SoFi has lapped it. Obviously, it's brand new. It's spectacular when you're inside, but no one would ever say like, God, LSU at night, SoFi Stadium at night. Clearly, you're not saying that. The Vegas Stadium, awesome. Atmospheres, a bunch of random people flying in all over the place. But the NFL does have some sweet atmospheres. So I just ranked my top 5 NFL atmospheres, and I left a couple out. Part of it is this team sucked for a while, but I think Denver historically has been pretty sweet. Mile High, great football town. Seattle had a stretch there with the 12s, which was as good as it gets. I remember the Saints played a Monday night game there, and like Drew Brees couldn't even function. And the Saints, I think they got beat pretty bad. This might have been late in Brees' tenure. It might have been like 15, 16 range. But I think Seattle's come back to earth a little bit. The game 2 years ago with Russell coming back with Denver was pretty awesome. But if they ever got good again, that place is going to rock. Starting at 5. I remember watching a game there last year when the Niners played them and thinking, there is something special, and I've talked about this before, like the Coliseum where the Raiders used to play in Oakland, Candlestick, just these old, decrepit stadiums that are just kind of football. And when you go there, it's really just about drinking beer, getting loud, maybe eating some crappy hot dog, but it's about football and football only. And I think Cleveland still kind of has that. And part of the reason I put them, they're good now. The team's competitive, but there's nothing like hearing the fans hit like I don't even know if it's 10 or something, but it echoes throughout. That place week 1 against the Cowboys is going to be nuts. I was listening to Vrabel, who was on with the Pardon My Take guys, and he said his dad took him to a game in the dog pound. I don't know, when he was like junior high, and he was like, that's the first time I'd ever seen weed and people just getting blasted. And there's just something special about football in Ohio. That stadium, not great. They're clearly probably going to build a new one. I saw Andrew Berry wants to build a dome. I got to push back on that one. I understand why he would. Analytical guy, numbers geek. You can control a lot better if there's a dome. When I think Cleveland, when I think Baltimore, when I think Cincinnati, like Kansas, I think outdoor, cold. I hope if they ever do it, they do not do a dome, but who knows? So I go Cleveland at 5. This is my only new stadium, but I think this place, the best opening in the NFL is when everyone's doing Skull. That place freaking rocks. And that stadium, I've never been there, but it looks awesome on television. It pops on TV, day or night. And my buddies that worked for the Eagles that went there for the Super Bowl said the place is badass. That atmosphere in Minnesota, and it's always been good, but I think for a newer stadium that can't be cheap to go to is pretty sweet. It has like a Big Ten vibe to it. Like it has a collegiate vibe to it. And I think a lot of times you've seen it with Vegas, you've seen it with the Niners, you've seen it with SoFi, seen it with the Cowboys. You kind of lose that with the glitz and the glamour, which is understandable because you price out the diehard guy that's really going to yell. I got news for you. When I go to a game and I pay a lot of money for tickets, like I'm not standing up all the time. Like I'm just kind of sit there enjoying it. And listen, I'm not proud to say that, but there is something about people that used to be able to afford pretty good seats. It just makes the place louder. The faster you get to a wine and cheese crowd, the less likely you are to have a crazy atmosphere. It's why these top three stadium atmospheres all have something in common. They feel old school. And number three is the Bills. I think the Bills Mafia, the games in November, December, and January, the snow games, it just feels pretty special. It feels like something that in 10 years, as all these places have new stadiums, including the Bills, with club seats, with boxes. And I'm not saying this place, I went there once. The team was pretty crappy, but and so it wasn't the atmosphere wasn't like what you would get with the Josh Allen Bulls or the Jim Kelly Bulls, Bills. I mean, it's just the last of a dying breed. There's just something unique about a small town city that has this NFL team who's now good. The snow, I just think that it's just awesome. I mean, it pops on television. You just find yourself rooting for those people who the Bills mean so much to. He's one of those franchises that you think of Chris Berman if you're my age and growing up watching, his breakdowns on ESPN on Sundays. But there's just no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Uh, Number two, and you could have gone 1A and 1B. I think Kansas City and Arrowhead. I've been to a bunch of games at Arrowhead. I was going when they weren't as good in the late 2000s, but I think a little like Buffalo, and we'll see if they get a new stadium. It's just an old school stadium. It ain't that nice. And when you get there, it's just about football. And now these people are going to the games. It's in the middle of a dynasty. I was listening to Edelman's podcast, part two with Ernie Adams, and they claimed the best game atmosphere on the road they had played in over the dynasty was the 2018 AFC Championship game against Patrick Mahomes, his first year starting. He was the MVP, and they beat him in overtime. And they both said that was the coolest environment as a road team that we had ever experienced. And this was a team that had done it all. And this is Ernie Adams, who has known Bill for 50 years and was on all the Patriot teams as a right hand man. So they're not just saying this. It's a special environment. And I do believe that it has something to do. You just naturally lose it when you upgrade the stadium because it prices people out. Even though to get to a Chiefs game now, even in the older stadium, is more expensive than it would have been pre Andy Reid. But still, it's going to be way less affordable when you start adding all these incredible club seats. You quadruple the amount of suites. It just changes. I saw it with Candlestick and Levi Stadium. It ain't the same. It doesn't mean it's not fun. It doesn't mean it's not cool to go to a big game there, but it's never going to be this good. So Buffalo and Kansas City, two places that obviously are desperate to upgrade their stadiums. Enjoy it while you can. I mean, truly. I saw it with the Warriors. When I started going to Warriors games early on in the Steph Clay era at Oracle, which is right next to the Coliseum, I would argue one of the shittiest areas in all of America. I would put that stretch, 66 and Hagenberger, up against any in America of just if you blew it up tomorrow, not only would no one care, no one would notice, and it would look very similar. But those games at Oracle, place freaking rocked, man. It was, and it's not the same at the new stadium. How can it be? It's not the same crowd. So Kansas City and Buffalo, and it's why this there are certain places. Fenway Park is this. Wrigley Field is this. Obviously, Lambeau is this. That will just battle through the test of time. And even as the world changes, even as the economics of stadiums change, it doesn't feel like it matters at all. And in the next 10, 15 years, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cleveland will all have some sweet new stadium more than likely. Look like Minnesota or Dallas or SoFi, their versions. And it'll be like, remember what Arrowhead was like? Remember those games at Orchard Park in that old crappy stadium. Remember those games? I mean, I listen, most people in my life growing up are Niner people, and a lot of their memories are a candlestick. Remember those games with Joe Montana and Steve Young and Jerry Rice and even Jim Harbaugh at Candlestick? There's something nostalgic about that. And the great part about Lambeau is it feels like it's never going away. And I went once when no, actually, no, I didn't go. Actually, I was supposed to go, and I ended up not going. So I've never been there. I think I was supposed to advance. I ended up going to another city, and someone else went. But they've been good for 30 plus years. The stadium is so historic, and it's just an awesome place. It's just it pops on television. Everyone knows when you say the word Lambo exactly what you mean. Whenever you see someone on social media or whatever, I got the chance to go to Lambeau Field and just go to. I'm not even a Packer fan, and just went to the game. Obviously, the Lambeau Leap is something that just is very special in all of football at any level, and it's just really really cool. And the Packers, because of their success, I've been to a lot of games against them on the road. I've seen them sell out against the Raiders. I've seen them sell out against the 49ers. A lot of you that if you've been to a game that your team's played the Packers, a lot of Packer fans. And this is a team that plays kind of in the middle of nowhere. And it's not some big, metropolis, urban major city. And they feel like one of the stalwarts of the NFL. And I think obviously a big reason is because of the quarterbacks, because of the success, but you could also argue it's because of the staple in Lambeau Field.